That we can take more. Can we? Great. So we can have more. Let's have Mr. MC.
Yes, sir. I'm over here.
Let's have 4 more.
All right, sir. I'm with you.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. My name is Asiwaju Tinubu. I'm a service provider in the oil and gas industry, the security space. We provide onshore and offshore security to oil and gas assets. Before I get to my question, I'd like to say, with the general mood in the hall, I think I'll say this to His Excellency and his team. Your mandate, your manifesto, and what we've heard so far, as a stakeholder in the private sector and the oil and gas industry, a young patriot and a believer in Nigeria, I am very, very encouraged. Thank you very much. If I move on to my question, sorry. Allow me to ask this. Okay. What are your actionable plans for us to increase oil and gas production and subsequently our oil and gas exports?
All right, I'm over here now. Thank you.
Very good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I stand on existing protocols. I believe that over the last 20, 30 years, that Asiwaju has been a visionary, been able to pick talent and sort of position himself in a fantastic way in the political life of this country. If I look forward, I see that there is tremendous investments in clean energy. Tesla, the richest man in the world, is a beneficiary of that technology. Some decades ago, it was said that Nigeria needed maybe 1 million analog lines. Today we have 150 million smartphones and lines. You've spoken about long-term capital required for infrastructure. In terms of clean energy, there's perhaps $1 trillion of funding available for Nigeria. There's food on the table. What are your thoughts around, as a visionary, what are your thoughts around bringing that amount of capital into the banking system, into our FX, lack of FX, lack of investments? What are your thoughts around clean energy as a critical pathway to transform this country the way analog lines have been transformed in the digital telecom sector? Thank you.
Hello, Your Excellency. I stand on the existing protocol. My name is Abdullah Kasai, and my question is centered around the export commodity exchange market. Prof has discussed about it, and I just want to get more insight into it, because you see a lot of our farmers, their produce, they dry it on the roads if you're going from Kaduna to Kano, and then which they could have sold it maybe at a higher price, but they end up drying it and they don't get the much benefit they're supposed to get. So this commodity market, is it going to be buying off the farmers what they produce? Because when we were young, we used to hear about it, but we didn't know what it was then. So we need to get more insight into what the board and the commodity market will work on. Thank you, Excellency.
Just one more.
Your Excellencies, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Temitope Ibuyemi. I'm the General Manager for Government Relations at Procter & Gamble across Africa. Thank you for inviting us as members of the private sector to witness today and to participate in the renewed hope for 2023. Again, I applaud your vision for Lagos State, which was implemented over the years and made Lagos State the envy of not just other states in Nigeria, but also many countries around the world. We look forward to see this implemented in its full blast as we come into 2023, again, with renewed hope. My question really today is, as we look forward to ushering in 2023, one of the challenges that we have as investors is the visibility, the predictability, and stability of fiscal and monetary policies. I'd like to understand from Your Excellency, what strategies are you going to put in place to close the gap between the existing parallel market rates and the official foreign exchange rates? Thank you.
Your Excellency, over to you.
Well, quite interesting. I don't want to be the only one talking here. Tanimu, please take the commodities questions, but as a president,
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for referring the response to this question in my humble self. As I had mentioned in my brief presentation on the subject matter, we'll have new institutions, including players in the commodities market. There will be brokers. There will be the ones that will be buying directly from the primary producers. We will have infrastructures like bulk centers where such farmers, as we refer to, can actually take the surplus production for processing, for grading, for treatment. And that is how eventually what they have at that level enters the global market. Thank you very much.
Equally, thank you very much, Tanimu. Equally, we have listed commodity exchange board that will be accountable to the public, and then to encourage farmers when your prices fall below expectation, we buy from you. Can you please take clean energy? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm reading a lot about this, but I have a different challenge to the West. They want us to sign to net zero, while we are still very poor and hungry. It's like a widow whose husband is dead, and you go to her house and you're begging her to eat. At a stage, she must ask you, where is the food? What is there for us? That's it. Tolu, maybe, please continue.
clean energy. That's awesome. And I'm going to build on what you have said. So, for clean energy, you have highlighted a critical issue, which is the fact that it is a challenge to attract long-term capital to the power sector, whether that source of energy is gas or solar or hydro. So one of the key things that needs to be addressed are commercial tariffs for the input into the gas sector. So we have about over 10 gigawatts of installed capacity, generating capacity with gas. So we will ensure that we're paying commercial prices for gas upstream so that you can invest in gas supply to the power sector, so that you can unlock your existing generating capacity. You will make sure that the DISCOs are able to charge commercial tariffs that enable them to continue to generate the level of income that can attract long-term investment into their sector needed for metering. And then in the middle, the leader has mentioned the need to decentralize and attract capital to the transmission sector, which is still in the hands of the government. When you do that and unlock your existing capacity with your gas at the moment, you ensure that the commercial framework allows you to add grid-scale renewables, hydro, solar, and that limits our continuation, it limits the growth of gas, which we will make sure we go green, but not until we have solved the existing problems within that sector. On crude theft, the leader has talked about the existing frameworks and enforcement of the existing security frameworks that are in operation at the moment. That's going to be critical going forward. That is the stick approach. And the carrot approach, of course, is to address the issues around sustainability of the communities that oil and gas operators existing. So the host communities fund, the host community fund and the BIA provides a 3% of operating revenues to go into the host community fund, host communities, to make sure that they are good citizens and custodians of the national assets that are within their communities. The other thing that will need to happen with crude theft is to invest in aging onshore infrastructure. A lot of the issues around the environmental issues are due to aging infrastructure, but you cannot attract investment if people are vandalizing pipelines and the existing pipelines. It's difficult to sit with the bank and then tell them to give you capital to go and invest in the same place. The last piece is to diversify your production capacity offshore. So we saw that NLNG was down and had to declare force majeure because the bulk of its production comes from onshore. That needs to change. We need to diversify production to the offshore capacity so you can improve the reliability of exports into the market. Thank you.
The only thing I can add to that is the submarine pipeline where they are built. On the exchange rate, I will call one able to dissect that.
Thank you, Excellency. We heard from the floor here today that the multiple foreign exchange rates are perhaps the singular most important impediment to investment. And we need investment to grow the economy. So it is the commitment of the Tinubu administration, which by the grace of God will come into being after next year's elections, to unify the exchange rate. It is in the action plan. But more importantly, you and having a transparent process for trading of foreign exchange does not mean that the exchange rate now becomes stable. It doesn't mean that it just stays at one rate throughout time and over time. There are interest rate differentials, inflation differentials, which mean that it is more likely that for investors, it is the predictability of that exchange rate that is more important than rigid stability. Because if you want to grow a competitive economy, an economy that is competitive, industries, products that are competitive worldwide, then you cannot have the exchange rate appreciating. Instead, what will be signaled by the Tinubu administration is the likely quantum and direction and timing of exchange rate movements. In other words, over time, investors will be able to look and plan that the exchange rate in a year, for instance, will move by maybe between 5 and 10%, and they are okay with that. It keeps them competitive and it gives them a basis for planning. That, I think, is where we are regarding the all-important issue of exchange rates and the commitment of a Tinubu administration to encourage and incentivize the foreign investment, including foreign direct investment, that is critical for changing the trajectory of this economy.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Would you want to add something or will you go to the next? Because by popular demand, they have been bombarded with requests from the audience. So we are just having only 2 more. That's an extension. That's really outreaching ourselves. Because of time. Mrs. Yemisi Rosakuti, very briefly.
Miss Yemisi Rosakuti got one of the last 28 wives. And I don't think Your Excellencies, you are celebrated enough for the work you did, the human rights, to get us the democracy that we enjoy today. To be part of this ascension of yours to the national throne. I like the attempt at the gender balance on the table. For you to tell us what your policy would be in the percentage of women in your cabinet. But my main concern, sirs, is what is happening in our local government. Because no matter what plans we have, the capacity to implement, because we all live in local governments, the capacity to implement these critical elements by the officers that man local governments is very low. A group that I work with, Lagos Island Connect, is working with Governor Sanwo-Olu, the Commerce Ministry and the Ministry of Sustainable Development Goals and Development in Lagos State to create the environment for youth empowerment and commerce, trade and development at the local government levels. We've had an economic summit in Lagos Island. We've had a needs assessment survey. We've had a webinar on the comparative advantage of Lagos Island. We're going to have a fair in November, a business fair for young people and entrepreneurs in November at Tafawa Balewa Square. I want to find out from you, because each time I talk to state government about why local government is not working, they tell me that it's the constitutional structuring, they have to restructure, and something at the federal level. But I know how brave you were at creating more local governments and insisting that those local governments must exist. And we know how brilliant our leaders are to circumvent constitutional constraints when it works in their favor. So